what are the consequences of zina, so extramarital sex? So the main reason the scholars say this has been prohibited is because it leads to the mixing of lineage, what they call khalt al-ansab, that you're mixing lineage and you're obscuring, who belongs to whom, into what family. And this is considered fundamental for our identity as human beings and also for our social relationships. So many rights and duties in traditional societies and in Islam, devolve upon a person through their actual blood relations. And so it's very important for me to know, if I'm a man, is this my child or not that I have to spend on, right? Who do I inherit from? I inherit from my relatives. I have to know who they are, right? And families, again, a lot of studies on this, even by Western secular anthropologists and scientists and others, about how we naturally prefer our own kind of lineage over those who are outside of it, right? This is natural. It's part of the fitrah that we've been created with. So consequences of zina, premarital sex, right? We didn't get to homosexuality yet. It's an aspect of it, but even between men and women, it undermines the institution of marriage, which leads to the breakdown of the family unit and by extension, the breakdown of society. So it's massive consequence, not just a personal issue. And also, right, beyond the pragmatic and sort of sociological repercussions, it has grave consequences for one's personal virtue, one's moral character, and one's standing before Allah. And all of these are relevant to us and important, right? And they determine our state on the day of judgment and in our eternal afterlife, right? And so norms for minimizing zina, how does Islam attempt to legislate in order to minimize the occurrence of zina and make it a realizable moral norm for the average man and woman to actually avoid non-marital intercourse? Well, as we read in the Quran, and tell the believing men to lower their gaze and to guard their private parts. And then it goes on and tell the believing women to lower their gaze and guard their private parts. So, not looking at other people with sexual lust, and also covering our bodies and maintaining modesty. We saw before 2-3 slides earlier that the Prophet, peace be upon him, said every religion has a characteristic moral trait, and the characteristic trait of Islam is modesty. So Muslims are known for their very intense sense of modesty. Also, no physical contact between non-mahrams, meaning a man and woman who are not so closely related that they could not marry. So any woman who's not your mother or sister or whatever, you should have no physical contact if you're not actually married to her or a close relative. So there's not premarital sex in Islam, there's no premarital physical contact at all. That's the actual ruling. It can sometimes be difficult, especially handshakes and so forth, but this is the principle. Also, no khalwa between mahrams, which means a man and a woman who are not closely related, they should not be alone in an isolated place where they fear unannounced intrusion, okay? And the idea is not that, Muslims think every time a man and woman are alone together, they're just going to hit the floor and lose control. But the idea is that you are putting yourself in temptation's way. And, it's a very volatile aspect of human life. And when you open yourself to that temptation, sometimes it just comes and gets you from where you least expect it and you fall. You think you're in control and you can completely lose control and can be very dangerous. Also, modest dress, speech, and behavior for both men and women. So these are the norms, right?